A very good evening to you and a warm welcome to Business Today. And on Business Today, we always feature about different industries to give you a better idea as to what role they play in our country. And today it's going to be a very interesting topic because we'll be touching on technology and artificial intelligence, and the term itself is vast, so we'll try to fit it into 25 minutes. So we have it as a Global Business Unit Head of BFSI, Surya Vedula, who is here with us all the way from India, and along with him we have Anurag Sahai, who is the Global Business Unit Head for Data Science and Artificial Intelligence. And we will be talking about many things, but initially I'd like to welcome you both to Sri Lanka and for our program Business Today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming. And first and foremost, let's have a better idea as to what Nagarro is all about. Because I did mention that you are the Global Business Unit Head of BFSI and the Global Business Unit Head for Data Science and AI. This falls under Nagarro, if I'm not mistaken. So tell us a bit more about what Nagarro is.
So Nagarro is a global organization. And it was set about 30 years ago in the Silicon Valley and in India. We work in the areas of digital product engineering, which means that when companies and organizations are building products, and especially digital products, they require a lot of help and support in the way they develop those products. It spans across areas of conceiving products, designing products, implementing and executing products, taking those products into the market, and then ensuring that the operations run smoothly. So as a company, as an organization, we help our clients achieve a very good outcome in the areas of digital product engineering. And as part of that, we use a lot of technology to be able to make that happen because it's all digital. So we use a lot of AI, we use a lot of data science, we use a lot of IoT, we use a lot of blockchain, crypto, and a lot of these modern tech stacks that are important ingredients to make those products. So Nagarro is a fairly global organization, close to 20,000 people, spanning 35 countries, fairly global in its approach, very diverse. And so we both are business unit heads running a division each. Like you introduced, Surya is running BFSI, I run the data science and AI, and our goal is really to help our clients on the specific topics that we run.
Very interesting. So if you could tell us, when was Nagarro initiated?
So Nagarro started in about 1996, again, to add to what Anurag has been saying, with the thought process that an IT services company like ours, which offers full portfolio of whatever else our customers may need to achieve business outcomes through technology, must also come with a very product-centric mindset, right? And not a project-centric mindset. A product-centric mindset requires for you to build technology services which will last a long period of time, knowing fully well that these things change over time. So the initial design is not such that it's adaptable to change towards market conditions, environment, and regulation. Such products would fail over time. A project-centric mindset is where you just come in and say, here is what you want, I gave you what you wanted, but I don't know what your tomorrow is going to look like, right? So philosophically, this makes us different. And the entire organization is structured to enable this to happen at scale.
Can you also give us a better idea of the structure of Nagarro, Surya?
Nagarro is structured into industry-focused verticals, like one of them is mine, banking and financial services, technology-focused horizontals, like Anurag's, and the expectation is that we use the technology-specific skill sets, knowledge, engineering, and point of view that the horizontals bring to industry, domain, and use cases. And at the intersection of these two is where value gets created for each industry. So we keep the domain experience, and we keep studying the banking industry. My colleagues study manufacturing, travel, aviation, automotive, and others. Anurag works with all of us to bring the knowledge that he has, and at these intersections, we deliver value to our customers.
It's pretty interesting. The reason why I asked when Nagarro was initiated, or the inception of Nagarro, is because I wanted to talk about how things have evolved so far, because it was in the 90s, that's what you mentioned, 1996. Right. So now it's 2024.
Yeah.
So this is about AI and technology, so I think Anurag can give us a better idea about this, because technology is forever evolving. So how has Nagarro evolved over the time?
Wow, that's a pretty interesting question and a slightly complex one. But we can sort of look at Nagarro in three different stages of growth, right? And it sort of like mirrors the way industry has grown. The way I look at it, and there may be several ways to look at it, right? This is one of the ways to look at it. The initial wave of digitalization was the movement in the industry where a lot of companies were moving into areas like trying to bring a lot of web presence. They were building websites, web applications, and so on, right? And then eventually the mobile phone came. And so there was a lot of activity in trying to get into applications around web and mobile. So we kind of look at it as the first wave of technology that companies started to adapt, right? And as Nagarro, we also helped our customers achieve that. You could sort of look at that as the first decade of what Nagarro was. It was all about building smart applications around web and mobile. But then that was that, right? Around the 2006-07, there was a very strong big wave around analytics and data-drivenness. Big data started coming in, and companies started investing a lot of money in analytics. They would put a lot of money in data warehousing, and they will build dashboards and reports. So now that you have a business, a digital business through a web app and a mobile app, you want to manage your business with the help of numbers and with the help of KPIs and metrics. And that was the analytics wave. So you can sort of look at Nagarro also, evolving to that second level, saying, okay, you know what, let's help our customers not only build these businesses with the help of digital assets like apps, but also give them tools and insights into how are they managing, how efficiently are they managing their business, and that was the analytics investment. So those were the first two stages. And then the third investment came in these areas of what we now sort of typically associate with AI, but there are other technologies as well. There is IoT, there is blockchain, and so on. And the third wave is all about making the enterprise or making the organization much more intelligent. You don't want to just have people using tools, but you want the tools to be intelligent, right? And that's the wave of AI. So the third wave is the wave of AI, and you kind of look at Nagarro. Nagarro has sort of gone through those three stages at some level.
Very interesting. So now we have like a better idea as to what Nagarro is and what you do in terms of kind of helping the clients grow. So let's also talk about the purpose of your visit to Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka is a very important part of Nagarro. We have lots of colleagues and a large delivery center here in Sri Lanka, which is bringing value to our global customer base, as well as customer base here in Sri Lanka. The talent is amazing, people are amazing, and I think we'll continue to bring a lot of value to business solutions across the world, also from here.
And now moving on to BFSI, Surya, what are the key themes that you see shaping the global BFSI industry?
So the banking, financial services, and insurance sector has been traditional for many years. But over time, with all the changes that have been happening, access to credit has become very, very important to shape whatever else directions the governments are taking or businesses are taking. So the banking sector has a very important role in making access to finance available to a wide variety of customers. So, and the insurance industry provides a corresponding support in terms of safety to these people in whatever insurance policies that you can buy to execute business, to live a life, which is trouble-free and things like that. So with these objectives of the business in place, access to customers, ease of operations, frictionless transactions, being able to speak to people of all. In the retail segment, you have all the way from illiterate to the extremely educated, all the way from the really poor to the extremely rich. And so painting all of them with one stroke of a brush and saying this is just the customers is not going to work anymore. So these are the challenges that both these industries have to deal. On the insurance side, the products are very, very, very complex. And so how do you make complex products available to the people in a way that they can understand? Because the industry is also under a lot of pressure by regulators because of what we call mis-selling. And mis-selling happens because you sell the wrong product to the person and they don't get the value from it at the right point in time. It's not necessarily mis-selling because of bad intent. It's because of lack of availability of appropriate information at that point in time.
Right now, I think technology plays a massive role in this as well, because as you did mention, it was previously very traditional.
Correct.
But now I think with technology, you can kind of cater to many, isn't it?
Right. One is catering to many. Second is catering to a customer when the customer wants it. Doesn't matter at what time of point of time or day it is. Catering to a customer no matter where they are. Sri Lanka has a lot of people who live outside of Sri Lanka, right? And they're supporting people, parents, family, friends, and others in this country. So they could be in a different time zone, but they need to be able to enable transactions for people maybe living here, and the institutions have to be able to support it. So you need to be available when your customers want you, when they want you, and saying come to the bank branch at 9 in the morning is not going to cut it anymore.
So be customer-centric.
Customer centricity is a huge, huge part of all
Exactly.
of this.
And in your opinion, what should be the top 2 to 3 priorities of BFSI CIOs in emerging markets in South and Southeast Asia?
The CIO role was always complex, right? And continues to become even more complex now. The CIOs deal both with their internal business as well as the IT organizations which need to enable business outcomes. So the CIOs, as they think about the value that they bring, they have to be able to work internally within their organization to build the mandate that they need. And the CIOs need to deliver to the profits, efficiencies of the organization as they deliver. And they cannot just look at themselves as a cost center. They are a part of generating profits, value, revenue, longevity of the organization, and things like that. So with these things in focus, they need to make sure that their groups transform into technology-centric fintech companies sitting inside a bank or an insurance company, bringing the value that their business is demanding, so that eventually their customers get customer centricity, decisions are data-centric, and the processes become more and more frictionless over time.
Interesting. So getting back to AI, now AI is a very broad topic, as I did mention towards the beginning of the show. It's pretty vast. So with ChatGPT also coming into play, Anurag, I'm pretty sure that you can give us a better idea as to what AI is in a layman's point of view to our viewers, and how it has changed over time and what we can expect. It's a lot of questions in one, but I'm pretty sure you can give us a good idea about this.
Sure. Let me try. You're absolutely right? AI is a word, but behind that word, there's just lots of stuff. But also, it's not all that complex either, right? I mean, it requires a little bit of deep dive. So the way we understand it is, and before I explain that, let me just give you a metaphor, right? I kind of use a lot of metaphor in my thinking generally. Let's say if we have to describe a building, right? I mean, one of the ways to describe a building would be is what tools have been used to build that building. So some people might use a lot of hammers and chisels, and some people might use cranes. But when you're describing a building, you kind of sometimes could use this saying, oh, you know what, let me describe the building by saying what kinds of tools that had gone into to be used to make that building. That's one way to answer that. Another way to answer that building is that what's the use of that building going to be? Is it going to be a school? Is it going to be a hospital? And it doesn't matter what tool went in, right? Now, in the world that we live in, because these are technology terms, people try to bring a lot of tools into the conversation. Oh, AI is all about neural nets, or AI is all about machine learning, and so on. So that's like saying, oh, building is made up of these tools, right? So I would not go into those ways of describing it. I kind of like the way, which is the second one, which is like, to what purpose are you building this, right? And so if we use that as a definition, there are 3 different types of AI. The first one is what we call diagnostic AI. The second is decision AI, and the third is generative AI. These are the 3 broad categories, right? Let me explain what that is. Diagnostic AI is kind of like what it means by diagnosis, right? Let's take the example of you go to a doctor, and the doctor is basically taking an X-ray, and then they look at the X-ray, and then they tell you, like, oh, you know, they use a tool like an X-ray, but they are the ones who are concluding what the diagnosis is going to be. The X-ray machine is just an aid to the doctor. The X-ray machine does not decide what the disease is. The doctor decides. Similarly, AI can be used in a way where it brings an insight to a person or a human being, and then the human being uses that in a way to make a decision. So we use diagnostic AI in many different ways. We use it in manufacturing. When products are coming out of an assembly line, you look at those images, and then you take those images and you give it to somebody, and then they decide whether it fits the thing or not, or when you're doing defect maintenance in an automotive or in any other good or product, you kind of use AI in a very powerful way to get some insights, and then you give those insights to a person. So that's a whole class of AI called diagnostic AI. Decision AI is all about you don't only extract useful information, but you use AI to make a decision. So, for example, the way would be is to, let's say I have an inventory, I have a warehouse, and I have a lot of products or SKUs that live in that warehouse, and I have to make sure that I keep my warehouse properly staffed with all these products. Like, they should always be enough so that I can, when orders come by, I can fulfill them. So I always have to make these decisions. How many new products should I order? How many of a certain type should I order? When should I order them? What is the time it will take for me to get it from my supplier? And so on. So you're going to make a lot of decisions. So you use AI in such a way. You ask AI saying, figure out what would be the most optimal decision making. And so this type of AI is called decision AI. And it's a very important part of what we do in how we use AI at large. The third type of AI is generative AI, which is all ChatGPT. Right? Here the goal is to make AI slightly more creative. It can work with language. It can work with images like DALL-E or Midjourney. They can take that as input and transform them in very creative ways to create completely new output. Right? So I can ask ChatGPT, write me an essay, and ChatGPT would write me an essay. Right? So this is creating content. So that's like the third kind of AI. Broadly, in the industry, when we are using AI powerfully, we kind of use these three ways to understand AI.
That's a beautiful way to explain what AI is all about in a nutshell, I'd say, because I'm pretty sure there's much more to it. And speaking of AI itself, now there are the pros and cons of everything. Mm-hmm. So AI is playing like a major role, as you mentioned, in different industries. So if you take media, and we have AI which could generate pictures. So I think for media, it's kind of a bit confusing where we need to kind of do a credibility check all the time. And also apart from that, there are ways and means AI can help you in media. And then about, different other industries, as you say, I think even to generate essays. So this is for education. So I think AI can also help with syllabus for schools.
Right.
So there's a lot AI can do, but there are pros and cons of AI. Would you like to kind of emphasize on a few pros and cons?
Absolutely. So you're absolutely right? I mean, everything that comes to us in this world comes with pros and cons, right? I mean, even a car when you buy has the potential of hurting people if you don't drive it well. So if there was not a smart enough driver or a skilled enough driver, that car could actually be a bad thing for somebody. So literally everything is like that, and it's really important to keep that same perspective with AI, that it is not like it's extremely risky. It just requires a new way to assess risk. So when I was going to make cars, I would look at what damage a car could do to human life or to human property. But when I'm trying to do work with AI, I have to sort of not look at exactly how I'd look at a car, but in a slightly different way. Like, for example, misinformation is a very important side effect of AI, right? And so you have to think about what kinds of misinformation could be created with AI, and so forth. So there are quite a few. In terms of pros and cons, AI is largely a very powerful technology which can bring significant amount of value to the economy of a country. Like, today's estimates are that generative AI in itself has the potential of bringing about $3 to $4 trillion of additional growth to the world. Like, that's the size of UK economy. It's about, 3.5 trillion. So the potential of some of these technologies in AI are pretty powerful. The pros are, now you have intelligent tools, not just dumb tools. You have tools which can write your first draft. Even the script could be, generated by ChatGPT, and then you can come and you say, let me edit that, for example. So those are the kinds of pros. You don't have to work so hard. You have more intelligent tools everywhere. Your car is more intelligent. Your essay writer is more intelligent. Your software coder is more intelligent. So practically every role in the industry which is working with any kind of knowledge work can be made more useful and more efficient because of AI. And the cons are exactly that. You still have to make sure that human beings are involved and they are checking facts, they are checking the details that are coming out at some level. You have to ensure regulation and compliance is present in the industry. So there's a lot of work that's happening in about regulation and compliance. Well, one of the biggest problems with AI at this point of time is the inaccuracy. So when, for example, I go to ask ChatGPT something, ChatGPT would give me an answer. I really don't know if that answer is correct. It can just make up that answer, and that's the biggest risk. So people have to smarten up at some level. They should not just be gullible. Just because ChatGPT is saying it means it's the right answer. So those are the cons, right? It's expecting us to become much more sharper also as people.
Exactly. So which means that humans have a role to play, because many people do fear that AI is going to take over the world. But as you did mention, regulations and everything has to come into play, because initially I think when AI was coming into existence, it was very basic, and I don't think the government needed to get involved in it. But now I guess it has gone to that level where we need some regulations, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's become very important that public policies are put in, or organizational policies are put in to safeguard a lot of these important things that we should.
So let's say, Anurag, that an organization wants to start their AI journey. So how should they approach it?
Absolutely, that's a very good question. It's what we call the cold start problem. The cold start is before you do anything, what do you do? What's the first thing you do, right? If it's completely new. And I was using this analogy yesterday. This is my first visit to Sri Lanka and Colombo, and let me just say it's a lovely country. I've been so impressed with the welcoming nature of everything that I have, and we have been talking a lot about how great it is to be here. This was new to me. This was the first time I was coming, and my wife, before I was leaving, said, the day before, is like, do you know anything about Sri Lanka when you're going, right? I was like, well, frankly, I have not had the chance. And the first thing she brought out was the map, right? And I kind of looked at it and was like, that's the way to describe something, is when you do something new, first you need a layout of what you're doing, right? A map. So the first thing I recommend, and this is happening everywhere in the ways we are working, is when organizations are looking to start on any of these journeys, whether it's a digital journey, whether it's analytics journey or an AI journey, it's really good to get a map. Understand what that looks like. You're not started walking, you haven't started doing anything yet, but if you know the big picture, then you can start doing some smart things about it. So this is what we advise our customers. We say, come sit with us, we will explain to you what the map looks like. Then when you look at that, it'll give you very good places to figure out where you are, where would you want to be, how should you get there, and so forth. So, my first recommendation is obviously that.
Get the map sorted.
Get the map sorted.
And this is for Surya and Anurag both. So from a regional or local context, what are your experiences of BFSI sector adopting AI-powered solutions?
AI, like Anurag was saying, is still relatively new. We have an expectation that AI is going to be super cool, is going to revolutionize something, and is this brand new tool or vehicle or whatever else. But over time, I think we will find that it'll solve a lot of our regular problems, right? Like any other technology, like any other thing, the shiny part or the visible part may only be really small. A lot of it will go into the nuts and bolts and in the background to
Tip
improving.
of the iceberg.
Exactly. To improving efficiencies and productivity, right? Although we keep thinking about it as this new shiny object that must be visible everywhere, and that's not going to be true. So I think at the beginning, as we are starting a lot of experiments, some of it are being used in traditional use cases. And when you think about a traditional use case and a new way of doing an old thing, it doesn't sound that great. But we are thinking it should sound great, right? And I think that's where our own expectations have to change. Like Anurag is saying, get a map. It's the same old map. It's the same old place. Things are changing. Here are new tools. Navigate better. Anurag,
And
you
your
want to add
take
something
on
to
it,
that?
Anurag?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're asking the key themes regionally that we should be focusing on. Is that right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. No, absolutely. It's the same idea in every region of the world. I mean, I particularly don't see, Asia Pacific being very different. I mean, I think the level of commitments might differ, or the amount of capital that companies might be willing to put in might be different. but the script is literally just the same. I actually feel that Asia Pacific or countries like China, India, Sri Lanka even, right, are because there have been a lot of such tech development has happened in Europe and US more primarily, right? A lot of ways people are thinking about these technologies in these countries. They're kind of thinking about AI first. So sometimes I find that these regions are actually even more innovative. They're more daring. Yesterday I was having a conversation with one of our clients, and the kind of problem they're looking to solve is very radical. And so I actually think that theme-wise, it's not different. It's practically the same. The differences might lie in capital and so forth. A lot of focus in regional areas is going to be on growth. They'd rather not go on efficiency because there are not so many big organizations here, maybe. Startups, for example, are really trying to disrupt what they can offer to industry. So, the way they would think about some of these problems would be very different. So I kind of see two key themes. For existing large corporates, maybe efficiency is the big idea. But for a lot of small companies, startups, and others, using AI in a very powerful way to disrupt or do something innovative is going to be the key theme.
Interesting.
So those would be the two themes.
And what are your observations of the ROI being created?
Yes, and that's the ROI question is important because when we do something, it's always good to know what value we are actually expecting, and it's unreasonable to have great expectations and then get surprised by mediocre outcomes. So it's easier if you have low expectations and then you get surprised more on the positive side, right? So when we talk about AI, we often talk about do you understand what value you're looking for? Are you expecting that the car will just drive itself because you put AI in it? Is that what your expectation is, or you think that getting the car to drive itself is a 5-step process, and you are thinking about the first step right now, and then you will look at the second step later, and so forth? So jumping to very big expectations is what we are trying to mitigate, right? So ROI in our minds is making sure that the companies, the customers, really have very pragmatic, practical expectations of something like this, and they can see and frame that at some level, and we help them actually frame those ROI calculations very reasonably.
What's your take on it, Surya?
So the ROI, again, just because it's a new tech, having unreasonable expectations would be unreal. So to the CIOs who are trying to build a charter around all of this, I would say it's a necessary exploration, but don't have unrealistic ROI expectations today. Over time, it'll compound, and you must start your journey.
Exactly. And Anurag, from your experience in the regional context, what has been the key success factors of which has contributed to some of the data and AI success stories?
So I would say the most important factor has been a champion or a believer in a tech. Innovation, this is innovation. And if you are waiting for everybody to come on board and have a consensus saying, oh, let's all sit together and we should do this investment, most likely it's not going to happen. Even in developed nations, right? I mean, it requires sponsorship. We kind of say this this requires a CXO level sponsorship. They have to be believers at the top level to say, we are going to take this much money, invest it in that direction, and build a completely different outcome, right? In a smaller way, it requires champions and believers. And I think that has been the single most important factor. Of course, there are other factors, but if you have innovators, if you have believers, then they kind of take those initiatives, they try and figure out how to really solve that problem, and then they take the first step, and then everybody begins to follow because they can see the value of something like that. So that's been the big factor.
Exactly, and I'm pretty sure that we have given a good understanding about AI and about different industries trying to make use of AI in the best possible way. So we've come to the final few minutes as well, so this will be my last question. And this is going out to Surya. So how should Sri Lankan bankers and insurers gear up to handle this massive change in terms of technologically driven world now? So what do you have to say?
So to them, I would say, and it's not so much about the tech as it is about how you're going to build your organization. Build an organization that delivers value to your business today, which I'm sure they already are. But please also build an organization that is experimenting while delivering value. And these are not two separate things. These have to go hand in hand. And the same individuals have to be doing a portion of this and that. And you'll build an organization which can learn and unlearn fast and be able to contribute and be relevant over a period of time.
Thank you very much. And I think the unlearn part is the most difficult thing to do nowadays. And also you did mention that it's your first time in Sri Lanka and you kind of like the country.
I love it, yeah.
So please take the message back home.
Thank you. I will, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
I get a chance to come back again.
Thank you so much for being here with us and for sparing some time and being on Business Today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much for being a part of the show, Surya Vedula and Anurag Sahe.
Thank you.
And with that, we conclude our program, Business Today.